right. So the last thing that we just did here was we purchased some creamer and some sugar. Okay, business on a business credit card. Okay. So then now that we finished everything, right, we went to the journal, ledger, then subsidiary ledger. So let's see what happened next. What did we do here? What happened here?
We received a bill from Silver City Electrical,
All right.
and I'll go ahead and try this one if I can.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to go to our general journal.
Okay.
And this is where my first thought was, is electrical still considered a subcontractor?
Okay. So in this case, if we're looking at just doing electrical work in general, then yes, it would be considered something that's subcontracted. But in this case, did we hire Silver State Electrical to do a particular job?
I think we did last week.
Yes, we did. What was it for?
To upgrade electrical wiring.
For one of the appliances or for just in general?
It doesn't specify. It's just in general, I believe.
Okay, so in this case, underneath when we purchased our coffee brewer and coffee grinder, we indicated that underneath it was that the grinder needed a foundation and some electrical wiring done.
Okay.
Okay. So then if that's the case, if I'm receiving a bill from Silver State Electrical because we hired them to do some electrical wiring, where would you put this expense?
Well, it's still connected to the grinder, or right?
Yes. It's going to be considered the part of the cost of the grinder because we need the electrical work in order for it to be placed into service. So where's my coffee grinder right now?
Well, we brought it out of. Did we already bring it out of miscellaneous expense?
We only brought out the coffee brewer.
The brewer. So then we're going to use miscellaneous expense, right?
Good, correct.
All right, so let's see here.
We're still in the 15.
So we're going to debit miscellaneous expense.
Okay.
The account number is 19,990. $1,070.
For $1,070. Okay.
And then we received an invoice that we're going to pay later, so we're going to credit accounts payable.
Good. All right. We have another liability because we're not going to pay now. We're going to pay later.
I have a question. I'm pretty sure I missed this, but why did we not use labor expense instead of miscellaneous expense?
Because we hired Silver State Electrical specifically to create the electrical wiring for my coffee grinder. So instead of making it a separate expense account, right, I'm going to take that expense account and apply it towards the total cost of the coffee grinder.
The grinder.
Because those are the things that are going to be included in the cost to get it ready for service. Because maybe right now we used up all the electrical units because we have 2 coffee brewers, we have X thing, X that, right? We have a bunch. We don't have enough sockets. So in this case, we built another electrical wiring so we can have the coffee grinder as well, and we build a foundation for it. So that's to get it ready for service.
Okay, thank you.
We could essentially pay for it separately, but then the cost of the grinder would be significantly less. But in this case, I want it to be applied to the cost of the coffee grinder. Right? I don't want to pay it as a separate expense. All right? Okay, so accounts payable is account number
20,000.
And it's
We're going to credit it for 1,070.
good. Okay.
And then we're going to go ahead and make our note. Silver State Electric. Invoice number 3351. And net 4.
Good, right? The bill is going to be due in 4 days and no discounts given.
So next we'll go to our general ledger.
All right, general ledger.
First to miscellaneous expense.
Okay, so assets. Miscellaneous expense should be the very last account here. There you go.
Of course, the date is 6/15. And then I would put a note, electrical work for grinder.
Okay.
Sorry about my loud typing.
It's okay.
General journal number 5.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to debit for 1,070.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll give a total debit balance of 4158.07.
Good. Okay. So right there is the coffee grinder, which was for what is it? I think it was for like 1,500 something. We added the foundation to increase it to 3,088, and then we increased it once again because we added electrical work. So now the total cost of the grinder is at 4,158.07. Okay, good. What's next?
And then we'll stay in the same ledger, and then we'll go to the accounts payable,
Okay.
which is 20,000.
Yes.
Like, where'd it go? 20. There we go. So we'll put the date. I put in here Silver State Electrical
Okay.
invoice 3351. And general journal number 5. And then we're going to credit for $1,070.
Yes.
Bring in our credit balance to 14,856.40.
Good. All right. So here, right, we started out with 15,000, then we paid off a liability, and then now we just tacked on another liability. So now we are at 14,856.40. Good.
Now we're going to go to the subsidiary ledger. Go to Silver State Electrical.
I just missed it. Sergeant. There you go. Silver State Electrical.
And then here I would put electrical for the grinder as well. Oops. And then our invoice number is 3351. Post reference is General Journal 5. Our terms are net 4. No discount. And then in the due date, I do the formula equals the date plus 4.
Okay.
Which would be June 19th.
Good. So that means, no, Yeah, June 19. So that means this bill is going to be due in 4 days, which is going to be June 19. Good.
We didn't prepay anything, and the invoice amount is 1,070. We have not made any payments or anything, so in the accounts payable balance for that line,
Mm-hmm.
I use the formula equals invoice amount minus prepaid amount minus returns and allowances minus discount minus payment. Okay, that didn't work out so well for me. Okay, hold on, let me get it right. What did I do? Okay, I hit an extra minus. So the accounts payable total for that line is 1,070.
Good. All right, so that means we still owe Silver State Electrical $1,070. Okay, for this particular invoice. All right.
Can you do me a favor and go back to accounts payable, please, on liabilities?
Okay.
I think I messed up on my formula.
This formula here.
Yeah, for some reason it added my 1890 instead of. So it's the balance before
Up one.
minus, so up one minus 3,
Left 3.
left 3,
Uh-huh.
and then plus 1 minus 1.
No, minus. No. So it's gonna be
So
the previous balance. Okay.
let me enter it again. Okay, up 1.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna
And then
minus your debits. So in this case, left 3. Okay. And you're going to add left 2. So any credits. Because in this case, this formula is a credit balance. So we have to function it in the opposite direction. Okay.
okay, and what's the total there? You see, I get 13,740. Okay, let me go back to. I'm doing something wrong. Okay, so I'm gonna start on the 1890 and that line.
Okay. Okay.
So in there is equal up 1, which would be the 15,676. And you said plus.
If you're gonna do plus first,
Minus.
you're gonna if you're gonna do plus first, then you're gonna add left 2, because you're gonna add any credits that happen, right? Because credits increase.
Which would be the 1890, correct?
No, we're not. No, because that's a debit.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's the 1560.
There's nothing there.
There you go. Okay.
Then you're gonna subtract out your 1890.
Okay.
All right, and enter.
Okay. Thank you.
And then now that you have that formula in there, you could go ahead and use that green triangle and drag it down.
Okay, so it would be, yeah, okay, thank you.
Right. All right, is that the last transaction? Is that the last thing we have to do to this transaction, Sonia?
Yes.
Perfect, right? Once again, we didn't deal with inventory, so we don't need to mess with inventory. Right? So now that is all done, let's see what has happened next. What does this say here? Transfer the coffee grinder from miscellaneous suspense. Okay. So that means we are completely done with any fixtures and anything that we need to do for the coffee grinder. So that means the coffee grinder is finally ready to be moved out of miscellaneous suspense. So how do you move out from one account to another?
Can you repeat that?
How do you move one from one account to another?
Do you just do an opposite transaction, like debiting grinder to take it out of miscellaneous and then credit miscellaneous?
Okay, so yes, that the journal's correct there, but you would credit miscellaneous suspense to take it out because we're putting it
Okay.
into the coffee grinder. Yes, that's yes. So opposite thinking, but the transaction is correct. So yes. So in this case, we do have a coffee grinder account. We've been looking at the coffee grinder account all the time. So in this case, let's check our chart of accounts. What account number is that coffee grinder? One 50/50/20. Yeah. So we're going to be moving our coffee. We're going to be moving our coffee grinder into the coffee grinder account. Okay. And by doing that, we need to remove it, or in this case, we're going to zero out my miscellaneous suspense account to represent that I'm going to be taking out the whole entire amount. Okay. All right, so let's go visit our miscellaneous suspense account real quick on our ledger. What's the total amount there? So here's our miscellaneous suspense account. What's my total in my miscellaneous suspense account?
4,158.07.
4,158.07 is correct. So that means I'm going to remove everything from the miscellaneous suspense account and I'm going to drop it into my coffee grinder account. Okay. Right? So then what should my note be here? What should my note be here to represent that I'm trying to move something out of the account? What's my description going to be?
Well, I would say move the coffee grinder out of miscellaneous suspense account.
Good. Okay. We're moving coffee grinder out from miscellaneous suspense account. Okay. Good. All right. All right. So what step is next?
You note miscellaneous suspense accounts that you're removing the coffee grinder, correct?
Yep. Yep. Are you talking in the journal or in the ledger?
General ledger.
Perfect. So yes, that's the next thing is to go to general ledger. And since we're already on this account, go ahead and just take it out. So yes, in this case, it's still the 15th. And we're going to remove coffee grinder. Okay. You don't need to technically say out from miscellaneous suspense here, just because by us crediting it, pretty much kind of gives us it's kind of a given, right? So it just saying remove the coffee grinder is already straightforward enough, right? We're still on the 5th general journal, okay? And in this case,
We're gonna credit, correct, in order to remove it.
correct, right? We're going to credit the account by $4,158.07, which if you already pulled this formula all the way down, it should give you a zero balance in the miscellaneous expense account. Okay, so this is, so I have a debit balance. In order to get to zero, I need to credit the amount by that total amount. Okay. So it's like if I'm on the left side right now, right? How do I get to zero? You're gonna go to the right $4,158. Okay. Good.
And that's it for this transaction, correct?
Did we move it into the coffee grinder account?
Oh no, we gotta go to the subsidiary ledger.
Not sub yet.
No, no, never mind.
Stay on the ledger, all right? Because we have to update our coffee grinder account. Okay, so we're gonna go all the way up. It shouldn't be very far up for the coffee grinder. There it is, coffee grinder. It is the 15th. Okay. It is up to you what you want to put in the description. Anybody want to give an idea?
I just assumed coffee grinder number 1.
Okay, that's perfect. All right, coffee grinder number 1, in case we do end up buying a second one, a third one, or fourth one, ever. Good. Right? If you want to, you could be more specific, saying, well, this is the price of the coffee grinder plus the foundation plus the electrical work. That works just fine as well. But coffee grinder number 1 is just fine as well. Right? Post reference. We're still on the 5th one. And now, how much are we going to be debiting our coffee grinder account?
For the
So
4,000?
458.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good. So therefore, my total coffee grinder asset account should be for the 415807. Right?
That's a really expensive coffee grinder.
Yes. Well, originally we only purchased it for 1500. It's just because all the extra stuff that we had to put the foundation down and do the electrical work, that's what made it more expensive.
So just so I'm catching up, we
Mm.
are now we just moved the coffee grinder from where and placed it where?
We just
I
moved.
see that we're getting ready to get everything set up to get ready to launch the opening, right, for the business, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So in this case, we the miscellaneous expense account. It's just so then we can just keep track of the things that we're adding to it. You if this wasn't the case, like you could have just done it directly into the coffee grinder account itself. That way you could save some extra like journaling there. But in this case, I'm just teaching you this here. Like we're not done with the coffee grinder, so let's just throw everything into miscellaneous expense, and once we're done, we could just remove it and put it into coffee grinder. So then it's just one account. So that's what I'm doing here. All right. And yes, we are getting ready to open the business. So now that the coffee grinder is completely done, it's ready for service. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm moving it so I have it as an asset instead of miscellaneous expense.
Okay. Well, I'll catch up on the rest of it on the video, but okay.
Okay. All right. So now that that journal is done and we post it to our ledger, what's the next step?
We're done with the transaction now.
Good, good, because this is an internal transaction. We didn't need to deal with a vendor, a customer, or employee to transfer from one account to another. So good. We don't need to use a subsidiary ledger. We're completely done with this transaction. Good. All right. Let's see what has happened next. Right? What did we do here?
It looks like there was coffees in importers. So there was the coffee purchased, regular supreme at a total cost of $366.25.
Okay. Now, the question is, did we place an order or did we receive the items?
It says purchase order number 170307.
So what is it?
Coffee importer. So that was a purchase.
Okay, so what does a purchase order do?
Just orders it, pretty much.
Good. It just orders it. Did we receive the bill? Did we pay for the coffee?
It doesn't say. It just gives the cost of order, just the total cost.
Correct.
That's just it per pound. So the taxes and shipping and all that stuff was not even included in that. So it's just the order.
Correct. So in this case, do I need to journalize this?
And I can't remember. No, actually. Well, it has to go in the purchase order.
Good. No, you don't need to journalize this because all we did was just order it. We didn't receive the coffee. We didn't receive a bill. We don't know how much the total actual cost is because we just sent out an order. That's all we do. It's just a request. So in this case, no journalizing this transaction because there's no transaction that actually happened. However, we do need to put this in our purchase order. So on our journal, right, we have a section for the purchase order. Okay. So in this case, our purchase order for 170307. Okay, perfect. It is still the 15. All right. Who did we make a purchase order to?
Alice Coffee Imports.
All right.
So would it be in the purchase of regular and supreme? Do we journal that in the purchase order as separately there in the items, or do we just put the total pounds that was purchased for the coffee?
In this case, it's up to you. If you want to say I bought specifically 125 pounds of regular and 125 pounds of supreme, you can do that just so then you have a little more accurate data. In this case, I'm only purchasing from this one place, and it's in grand total, it should be at least 250 pounds. I don't have to be super specific here because I just need to make sure at the end of the day that my purchase order matches the total amount that I was quoted for. Okay. Now, if they sent me, let's say, for example, if they sent me 200 pounds of the regular coffee and 50 pounds of the supreme coffee, then I need to go back into my purchase order and figure that out because I didn't order 200 pounds of regular coffee. I only ordered 125. And that's where, if you have that specific detail in there, that's where you have an upper hand because you could say, hey, to call up the vendor and say, this is the wrong order. You shipped me the wrong amount. Right? But in this case, I'm just generalizing. So I'm going to say, well, I just bought 200 pounds of just coffee in general. Right? It's up to you if you want to be more descriptive. That just only gives you the upper hand in case something went wrong with this purchase order. Okay. All right. And how much was I quoted for?
$366.25.
$366.25. Good. Okay. And since that there was no actual transaction there, we are done with this one right here. Okay. All right, so now it is finally Sunday, June 16. We are still setting up the store. So on June 16, let's see what happened here. What did we do here?
Establish petty cash.
We established a petty cash fund. Correct. So what do we do here if we establish a petty cash drawer?
Journalize for petty cash and checking.
Excellent, right? So here we go. It's the 16th. Since we're establishing a petty cash drawer, right? We need to create our petty cash account, right? Do we have a petty cash account?
Yeah, I'm sure I saw that.
I saw that in the chart of accounts.
Okay, what number?
10,200.
10,200. Yes. And like Nathan said, in order to establish it, we need to physically either write a check to whoever the manager of the petty cash drawer is, or we could just simply write a check and make sure that when they cash it out, because maybe the check, you need specific amount of cash. Okay? But in this case, you're supposed to write a check, or and when you go to the bank, you're going to cash that check out and put the money into the petty cash drawer. Okay? How much did I establish the petty cash drawer for?
$500.
Okay, so $500. Okay, so what do I need to do next?
Go to check register.
Good, right? Because we need to have someone physically go to the bank and cash that check out. Okay, so check register. 16 for how much?
500.
Okay. And to who are we going to write this petty cash check out to? Okay. In this case, I didn't specify who is the petty cash manager. So for here, you could just make the assumption here that I'm just going to write the check literally out to the petty cash drawer. Okay? But in reality, you're going to write it to whoever you're going to designate as the petty cash manager. All right? Because you need to have someone to keep track of the person, or to keep track of the money in that cash box. So that means that's their sole responsibility, is that they are in charge of the money that is in that drawer, and they're the ones that's going to be writing out who's they're distributing the money out to. They're responsible for collecting those receipts in exact change. So in this case, we didn't designate anybody, so there you go. You could just write it to the petty cash drawer. So here we used check 1515. Okay. Going back to our notes. What should my note be?
Establishing petty cash.
Good. To establish petty cash. Okay. And what else? What check number did I write? 1515. So what's next?
General ledger.
The general ledger, because we need to update our petty cash drawer. Yes. Okay. So petty cash is going to be in your assets. It's literally right underneath your checking, because essentially the petty cash drawer is almost the same thing as your checking account, right? But this is for just a minor business expenses. So the cash that's in your petty cash drawer is the same thing as your bank. Okay? It's all going to be the money that the owner of the company, they own this money too. Okay? Here we go on my petty cash. 16th of June. Right?
To establish petty cash. General journal 5 and debit 500.
Okay?
And then you update your checking also.
Mm-hmm. We need to update our checking account because we just transferred money out from the checking to the petty cash drawer. So we need to know how much we have left in my bank account. Okay? Or in the bank account. So 15. Okay? How much are we going to credit it for?
500.
Okay, $500. So therefore, what should be my account balance now?
$17.99.92.
$17.99.92. Already, we're almost hitting the negative. We're almost hitting the zero. Okay, good.
And that's it. We're done with this transaction too.
Good, right? It's another internal transaction, right? We didn't deal with customer, vendor, and employee. Okay, so in this case, good. We're done with this transaction. So then, what happened next?
We need to set up a cash register.
Yes, we
For
do.
300.
Good, right? Here's the description of what kind of cash I need in there, right? I need at least 5 20s, 5 10s, $25 bills, and $51 bills, and $10 in coins. Okay, so good. How do I journalize this?
You're going to debit cash in register.
Good, right? We have another bank account called cash in register, right? Because the money that's in the register is the same thing as the money that belongs to the owner, right? What account number is that?
10300.
Good.
And then, for $310, we're going to debit. And then we're also going to credit checking.
Good, because someone has to go down to the bank and cash it out. In this case, it's specific amounts. So they have to go inside the bank to get these exact amounts so they could put into the cash register. Good. All right.
And then we need to go to the check register for a check number.
Okay. Check register.
Be 1516. Same date, the 16th for 310. And we'll just write that to cash and register.
Good. Right. In this case, I didn't designate anybody to be responsible, but most likely the owner will be responsible for this. But since I didn't specify, you could just do the cash and register. Just know that in real life, it'd be someone's name. Okay, 1516.
And then we'll make our note. I just put established cash and register check 1516.
Good. To establish cash in register, check number 1516. Good.
And we need to go to our general ledger, to the cash and register account. Shouldn't be far. There it is.
Yeah, it should be just right underneath petty cash. So 616.
And then establish cash and register. General journal 5. We're going to debit for $310.
Right, so in this case right here, you can specify how much of each dollar bill is going to be in there, because at the end of every day, you need to start with this amount in your cash register at all times. Usually that happens for all retail stores, right? Before you open up the store, first thing I do is you got to count the cash in the register just to make sure that you have, one, enough money to exchange with your customers, but two, so then when you start your business, right, you know exactly what you began with, so that at the end of the day, you're going to count your receipts and count up your total cash in the register, and you're supposed to do a little math there to make sure that your amount of cash profits or cash sales matches your cash receipts. Okay, in this case, we are strictly right now cash basis when it comes to doing our sales, right? Because we didn't get a credit card system, all right? So that means all of our sales are going to be cash. So this is going to be very important, well, in real life, that when you establish a cash in your register, every morning or every time you open up shop, you need to do this standard procedure before you begin opening your store. Okay? Making sure that you have enough cash in the register, enough to exchange with your customers, and to also know how much you begin your cash register with. So in this case, this $310 is going to be stable. I mean, that's your amount that you're going to always have in your cash register every morning. Okay?
Okay, before we move on to the next section,
Mhm.
for some, then I have 649.49 cash register.
Okay, so that was the actual cash register itself. This is the bank account where we're putting the cash in the register.
So where is this transaction supposed to be?
That transaction is going to be under fixed assets, which is going to be under your office office equipment. So if you go all the way down to your office equipment, you should have, so under the printer, you have just the cash register itself, because this is a fixed asset that we need to depreciate at the end, because we're going to be using the cash register. That's just the one that we just did now is the amount of cash that's going to be in the register, right? Because, yeah, that's the difference. Okay, one's a bank account and one is the actual asset itself.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so here I established my cash register to have a total of $310. Okay. Okay, what's next?
We need to update the checking account, which is just above.
Good. Right, because we took more money out. So 616.
Check number 1516. General Journal 5. And then we're going to credit for 310. And that brings our total to 1489.92. And we're done.
Good. Once again, it is another internal transaction. We didn't deal with a customer, vendor, or an employee to do this transaction. Good. Okay. Let's see if we have time for one more. Okay, so here, this is to set you guys up so you guys know exactly what we're going to be selling in the store. Okay, as you can see, we're going to be selling medium sized coffee, and large coffee. And because we have two different coffees, right, the customers have the choice to either select regular coffee or supreme coffee. Now, of course, these are the selling prices, right? So if we break it down to how much it's going to cost to either use the coffee or how much coffee cups that we're going to use is something that we're going to find out later on in the class, okay? Especially when we deal with the coffee pounds itself, because we're going to be, when we sell our coffee cups, right, we are going to keep track of how many cups we sold, but at the same time, we're also going to keep track of how many pounds of coffee we used in order to create the coffee. Not only that, we're also going to count how much cream we're going to be using as well as how much sugar. But again, because the way that we're going to calculate how much coffee creamer and how much sugar we used is going to be an adjustment called cost of material. Okay, so that's going to be something that we're going to calculate towards the very end of class, end of the month. Okay, so in this case, let's take a look. So my selling prices, right, for my medium regular coffee is going to cost $1.99. Okay, and every single one's going to be 50 cents more, or in this case, $1 more. Excuse me. So $1 more for a larger cup, right? And then for the supreme coffee, that's going to be $2.49, and the large here is for $3.49. Okay. We're also going to be selling in store our coffee mugs, right? We purchase coffee mugs, so we're going to sell them in store. Okay. Now, when we hired Mr. Albert Allen, our commissions representative, our sales representative, he's going to also act as if he is a wholesaler. So that means he's going to go and contact other customers, okay, who want to buy our product in bulk or buy them by the pound. So in this case, we have not only our selling price in store, we also have our selling prices for acting as a wholesaler when we have Albert sell our items. So again, with a wholesaler, 1 pound of regular coffee, we're going to charge our customers $3.29 a pound. Okay. And same thing with our large coffees. Our supreme coffees, we're going to charge $3.99 a pound. Right. And even though, like, on our end, right, it only costs $1.50 for one of these pounds, because we paid for the shipping and we paid for everything, and these are just people who are purchasing from us, we want to make a profit off of that too, right? We're not going to sell them at what it cost us, right? Because we're the one who took the time to go order the coffee and we waited on the vendor to ship those items to us. Okay, so in this case, our only goal here is we're going to sell in two ways, right? We're going to sell in store, and when we have, going to act as a wholesaler and sell it to our customers by the pound, right? And also for those customers who are buying from us as a wholesale price, we're also going to give them a discount off of the mugs too. Okay, so we're charging the wholesale price for $4.99, but in store, our regular customers, we're going to charge them $6.99 per cup, right? So that's what the sales price here, and that's what we're going to be looking at as a reference point. Now, I will tell you this. All the calculated amounts are already done for you. This just right here, it just tells you where those numbers came from. Okay, if you want to triple confirm, you could do that. But I'm telling you right now, it's already pre-calculated. It's already done for you, right? This is just a reference point of where that number came from. Okay. So now we have that. Let's go ahead and do this last transaction here. We are finally on our very opening date. So let's go ahead and make this payment here. And then tomorrow, next week, since today's Thursday, right? Monday, we will resume and start our first sales. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this last transaction here, and we can call it a day for the weekend, right? So right here, it is Monday, June 17. We received, or in this case, we're paying LV Remodeling for the foundation reinforcement, which is invoice number 1760. All right, and we're going to use a check. Okay. So, what do we do here? How do we journalize the payment to an invoice?
And does this needs to be added to the cost of the grinder also?
Okay, so we already calculated that already. We already made that expense. So now we're just paying for it.
Is it now gonna be part of the labor?
No, we already include it into the cost of the grinder.
And the journal is gonna be the RV modeling and checking.
What was that?
RV modeling and checking, right?
Okay, so is there an account called LV Remodeling? So that will be in your description for sure. So the hint here is I'm making a payment to a bill, or in this case, in our eyes, it's an invoice. We got invoiced for services that were already provided.
Yeah, account payable and checking.
Accounts payable, right? We're paying off what we owe. Good. Okay. Now here in the idea here, we've already incurred the expense by saying we're going to place that cost for the foundation into the coffee grinder, right? And by doing so, right? But we said that we're not going to pay yet. So then that expense that we have was converted into an accounts payable because we owe LV Remodeling for this services. Now that it is fast forward the 17th of June, we need to pay for it. Okay? Now, in this case, right, we need to pay off what we owe. Okay? So we're going to be decreasing our liability because we're not gonna owe LV Remodeling for this specific invoice. Okay. All right. So in this case, Nathan said that we're gonna be using our checking account because we are gonna pay them using a check. Okay. Now, how much is this check going to be written out for?
Is it 1560?
It is $15.60. Now, how can I confirm?
Subsidiary ledger.
Yes.
Ledger, that's your balance.
Good, exactly. So if I go to my subsidiary ledger and I go to LV Remodeling, okay, LV Remodeling. Here we go, LV Remodeling. It says right here that my invoice, wrong one, my invoice for 1760, which is the reinforcement for the foundation for the coffee grinder, right? Tells me that I owe for this bill $15.60. It also tells me that today's the day I have to pay. All right? So I owe $15.60. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my journal and write that I'm going to be debiting my liabilities, which is decreasing it, and I'm going to be crediting my checking account for $15.60. Okay? So what am I going to do next?
Go to checking.
We're going to go to our check register. Okay. So 617. What's my amount that I need to write out, and who am I writing this out to?
1570.
15 6. Okay, good. 1517 for 1560.
Amount for LV Remodeling.
And we're going to write this check out for LV Remodeling. Okay. So we used check number 1517. Okay. So then, what should my note be for this general journal?
LB Remodeling, invoice 1760.
LV Remodeling Company, invoice number 1760.
Check number 1517.
Good.
This is going to be interesting. So we have the date 617.
617. on which account?
The checking.
Checking.
Assets right there.
Okay. 617.
Check 1517. General ledger.
Oh, are we on the 5th?
General ledger 5, yeah.
Are we on
We're
the
still
5th? Are we still on there?
on the 5th.
We just started a new journal. Because I think I only had 2 lines left in my 5th one. There's no way I can squeeze this transaction in there. So it should be the
Probably added
6th.
heads to mine.
Okay, if you added an extra line, I will say, okay, that's fine, just because it's practice purposes only. But in this case, I like to keep my transactions like in one. And you can't, with this right here, right? I have to at least separate my transaction here. So I know that another transaction, because this is another day. So I can't really technically squeeze it in there. I only have 2 lines and I need 4. So in this case, I skipped to the next page. So I'm on General Journal 6 now. Okay. All right.
Then in here, oh, okay. So we are gonna, are we gonna debit?
What does your journal
Because we're
say?
making-
What does your journal say? Am I adding money to my checking account or am I subtracting money away from my checking account?
Yeah, you're gonna credit. Okay, so I did it right.
Okay, yes.
And we have a deficit.
Yes, we do. Now, this is what I want you guys to keep practicing here because right now I have a negative $70.08. Now, I do not want to change my formula or have to enter my formula anymore in regards to this one. So what I'm going to show you here is that I'm going to reflect in my credit side, right? That I have $70.08 on the credit side because I'm negative. I'm short money, right? And what I'm going to do is in this column right here, I am not going to erase it because my formula is in this one, right? If I double click on it, my formula is still there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this number, right? By just changing the font to white. So then it blends in with my worksheet, my workbook, right? But if I actually think about it, right, the number is still there. The formula is still there. So then the next time I calculate my next account, right, to update it, it's still the formula is still there. So it's still going to be there so that we could still continue to keep calculating without changing the formula or having to switch back and forth between the formulas. So in this case, now that I just showed it, so it's still, this formula is still going to be there. So I can keep extending it out. And that's what I want because I don't want to erase the formula and have to readjust everything and create the information in another cell. All right. I want to keep it consistent. So that's what I'm going to do just so then I don't have to change my formula. I don't know why I keep saying that. But yes, that's what I want to do. So in this case, I'm just going to hide it by just changing the font color to white. But I'm still going to type it into the credit type because in this case, right, I don't ever want to see a negative number on my debit side because that's the same thing essentially saying that you have a credit in your checking account. All right? Now, let's talk about this. Okay? I went over my money. I went over. Okay? Now, let me ask the question again. So, if I went over by $70.08, right? What's my assumption here? Right.
That you're short.
That I'm short money. But however, I will definitely probably be penalized because I wrote a faulty check. But in this case, right, we just cut the check. That doesn't mean the vendor is going to get it right then, right there. Because we still have to mail it out. It will take about 2 to 3 business days, right? And then the vendor will receive my check, and then they can choose to whether to put it into the bank account or not. So in this case, right, this $70.08 could actually not be cleared yet. It definitely isn't going to clear on that very same day unless you actually walk it over to that company and say, here's your check, right? So in this case, right, since we're going to be mailing them out because we don't need to deliver, a check to a person, right? We could simply mail it out. Okay? So if that's the case, then in this case, I probably will not get charged just because it will give some time to process it as well. Same thing with the idea, right? Most cases, it takes anywhere from 24 hours to even process. All right? Checks are not instant, right? Unless you physically go to the actual bank account and cash it out. Then it's instant. Okay? But in this case, I'm just mailing it out. So this $70.08, I might not need to get charged for this because the person that's receiving the check might not be cashing it right away. So that's assumption number 1. Assumption number 2 is even though I wrote a faulty check, right? And in this case, right? Is that allowed? Are they going to push it through in this case?
Through like depositing and cashing it.
Okay, so in this case, right, since I overdrafted my account, right, because I wrote a $1560 check, right, and if the bank's going to process it, right, instead of bouncing the check back to me, right, because I wrote a faulty check, they're going to push it forth for me, as in they're going to cover it for me, that extra $70 and
The bank,
8 cents.
the,
What was that?
the bank is gonna pay it, right? You have the over.
Okay, so in this case, no, because you're not paying with a credit card. So it's not like you could pay half cash and half credit card. But was there something that we applied for?
Yeah, line of credit.
Line of credit. We have up to $10,000 extra line of credit in case we overdraft our bank account or if we need to take a personal loan out. So in this case, this is completely okay. We pushed out a $1,500 check and they're going to process it because we have the line of credit to protect our bank account. Okay? So in this case, right, we may or may not have to get charged for writing an NSF, but in this case, like I said, I justified it for you, right? It could take anywhere from 2 to 3 days just to process. So in this case, on our end, we're saying that we are short $70.08. However, in the bank side, since we haven't even sent the check out yet, or the person hasn't received it yet, in the bank's eyes, this check hasn't cleared yet. So that means we are still okay. We're still good to go. So now that we figured that part out, right, we could go ahead and proceed with the rest of our day. So in this case, we just entered in our checking account, right? We need to now update our accounts payable now because now we reduced our liabilities, okay? So here we go. I'm in accounts payable. It is the 17th now, right? What's going to be my description here? or my note.
So invoice number 1760.
Right? We're going to do an invoice number 1760. In this case, I'm going to make a note that I made a payment with a check number 1517. Okay. In this case, am I going to debit or credit my account?
David, we're gonna lower the
Exactly. We're going to lower our liabilities by 15,600 because we paid off what we owe. So in this case, that's going to reduce my liabilities. All right. So then therefore, right, what's my new balance in my accounts payable account?
I got 13,296.
Good, right? This right here shows that we owe $1,560 less. Okay. Good. Okay. Last but not least, where do we need to go next?
You can go to the vendor section, subsidiary ledger.
Good. We're going to go to the vendors section in the subsidiary ledger, which we've already are there because we were checking up how much we owe. So in this case, separate line of transaction because now I'm making another payment. Okay. And right here, this tells me I've entered a bill and now I'm making a payment to the bill. Okay. So it's a 17. I think it was, right? I wrote check number 1517. And this is for invoice number 1760. Okay. So which box do I need to fill out from here?
Payment section.
Just the payment section. Good. For how much? For 1560, which gives me a negative 1560 in my accounts payable, which then gives me a total balance. How much do I owe LV Remodeling?
Should be 0.
I don't owe LV Remodeling anything anymore. I paid both bills, all right? One for the interior design and one for the foundation for my coffee grinder. So both bills have been completely paid off and I owe nothing, right? Good, right? Okay, like I said, save all your work because we're going to stop here, right? So we don't need to go to inventory. We have nothing to do with inventory. So in that case, this is where we're going to stop. Okay, so that means next week, we're going to start off the day on Monday with the very first sales transaction. Okay. All right. Any questions in regards to anything that we just looked at today? Okay.
No.
If not, then homework this weekend is once again general journal. I mean, not general journal, excuse me. Your journal entry for the week, right? What did you learn? Because there's a lot of things that we learned through this entire course of Coffee Cafe. A lot of things that we learned, okay? So, with that being said, if you do not have any other extra questions, you guys are free to go.